Hello and welcome to this C2G webinar. And today we're going to be discussing the governance of stratospheric aerosol injection solar radiation modification, which is a bit of a mouthful. So we'll probably be using the acronym SAI for stratospheric aerosol injection. Um, what we want to do during the webinar today is learn and have a conversation about what this SAI is and what role it might or may not play in managing climate risk. We'll explore what do we know about the potential risks and the potential benefits associated with the approach, and explore in more detail some of the governance considerations about SAI are and how they might be considered and addressed going forward. My name is Paul Rouse. I'm from the Carnegie Climate Governance Initiative, C2G. A few words about C2G. We're an independent, time-limited initiative of the Carnegie Council for International Affairs, funded by foundations. And we're grateful to our funders indeed for the support they give us. Our mission is very straightforward, actually. It's very simple. We seek to catalyze the creation of effective governance of climate-altering techniques, by which we mean carbon dioxide removal, known as CDR, and solar radiation modification, of which stratospheric aerosol injection, of course, is a type. We seek to raise awareness and energize the debate about these technologies, but we ourselves have absolutely no view on if and how they might be adopted. And I think we ought to say also that whilst we focus on these climate altering techniques and SRM and CDR, we also have a very strong belief that the most important thing that society currently has to do is to reduce emissions and reduce emissions as rapidly as possible. So we're not suggesting that climate altering techniques and SRM and stratospheric aerosols are something that should step over or jump past emissions reductions, but we do believe that we have to have a governance debate about them, because at some point one day we may have to think about using these things, and it's better to be prepared. So that's enough background. Today's webinar, it's one of a series of webinars actually that have been ongoing for a while under the rubric C2GLearn. And we also have something called C2G Discuss, where we hold informal conversations around topics called campfire chats. And you can find out a lot about these on our website at www.c2g.net. And along with recordings of those, you'll find a host of other related material, things like evidence briefs, policy briefs, interviews, blogs, and so on and so forth. So there's a rich source of information there. So today in our event, we're joined live by two expert speakers. And unfortunately, our third, Arunabha Ghosh, is not available to join us today, but we'd like to send him our best wishes. Arunabha has provided his presentation, his material, which will be shown along with the other two presentations. But just a few words about him as a person. He was the founder and is the chief executive of the Council on Energy, Environment and Water in India, which is one of the world's leading policy research institutes. And he was previously at Princeton, Oxford University and WTO as well. And then live with us, we do have Ina Möller. Ina can wave, hello. Ina's a political scientist working in the environmental policy group at Wageningen University in the Netherlands. And she previously worked at the United Nations Environment Programme and is an expert on climate change policy, global environmental governance, and I think takes a specific and particular interest in the interface between science and policy. And then we also have Doug MacMartin. Hi, Doug. Doug's a senior fellow in mechanical and aerospace engineering at Cornell University in the United States. And his research focuses on SRM and particularly developing insights into how it might work and what effects it might have. Doug does this, I think, not because he thinks we should go ahead and do this, but because he has a keen interest in ensuring that information is available about what this might mean, what the implications and effects might be, to allow other people to have that conversation, for society to think about whether we should never touch these things or whether we might consider deploying them in some way. Now, we're going to hear a lot more from Doug and Ina later on, but beforehand we have the formal presentations, which you'll hope you'll find informative and learn a great deal from. Um, there are three. The first situates stratospheric aerosol injection in a broader context of SRM and so on. And then we have a conversation or a presentation about the potential benefits and risks and unknowns that are involved in stratospheric aerosol injection. After which there's an elaboration of the governance issues, the governance provisions that may or may not be applicable, and the challenges that stratospheric aerosol injection brings to bear in terms of governance. So we have these three presentations and we'll be showing those concurrently. That'll last for around 45 minutes. So we hope you enjoy those. In the meantime, while they're going on, please do think of questions you'd like to ask. We're very keen to try and address things that people want to learn and understand and know about. So no question is foolish or silly. This is about learning, and you can only learn if you can learn by hearing answers to things you don't know. So if you'd like to post a question, just click on the QA interface at the bottom, type your question in. If you see a question somebody else poses and you think, wow, that's a good question, you can vote for it and then we'll make sure we address it. And do feel free to use the chat function if you'd like to chat, but please don't put questions in that space because we'll miss them. I think it's fair, I ought to mention these sessions are recorded and we host them on our website, as I've mentioned, but also on Facebook and YouTube. But the recordings do not show who the participants are, so your name won't appear. So feel free to ask questions in the safe knowledge that nobody will know you're asking those. And if you would prefer to pose anonymous questions, you can do that as well. So I think that's all I need to say now. And I'll ask our colleagues in the background doing the technical support if they could now commence the presentations. And I'll see you again in about 45 minutes. Thank you.